Today we've got Chris from Bitcoin Alive hosting Australia's biggest Bitcoin-only conference. Chris, it's been a while since we had a conversation last time. How you been, mate?
Yeah, good, Sean. Thanks for having me back on. Just been plugging away. Obviously, things are getting pretty crazy now with only 17 days to go. So, all hands on deck. But it's good to catch up with you again, man.
Yes, super cool. So it'll be exactly 2 weeks by the time this podcast comes out that Bitcoin Alive is on. Time is ticking. Before we went live, we were talking about the pressure, and you said you weren't really feeling it, but is everything lined up? You have all your speakers in place and the venue's all set and it's good to go? You got those last minute decisions to run through, follow up, and just tie everything together?
Yeah, that's basically it. Like, we laid the platform down with last year's event. So, we went from 0 to 1, from no Bitcoin conference to a Bitcoin conference. And now the idea is, we go from 1 to 1.5 or 1, 2 or whatever. We try to improve on last year's offering, of course. But all of that foundational groundwork has been laid, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We did all of that last year. So that doesn't mean that there's not much to do. There's perhaps even more than last year. And at times I've been probably more stressed than what I was last year, even though we only had 4 months to do last year's event, where we had 12 months to do this year's event. Funny how perspective changes over time. But there's always new problems that you're facing, things that pop up that you're not expecting. It's like running any business, right? Things don't often go to plan, but you try your best to position yourself so, mistakes don't happen and things don't catch you by surprise. But, putting on events, anyone that's done that before knows, even if it's just a local meetup, people know how difficult it is to congregate 30 people and book a random pub. And, even that's difficult. Putting on a world-class Bitcoin conference is obviously, several levels more intense. So with that comes, of course, more pressure, more problems to solve. But yeah, I enjoy it. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So this is just problem solving. So for me, it's like, cool, let's get stuck into it. Let's see what we can do.
Yep. And what are some of the things that you've changed from last year? Because it was very successful, super amazing feedback from the Australian Bitcoin community and the international people that have attended last year. What's taking this to the next level? Because last time we were speaking, you directly said, we've got to take this bigger and better. Right. So how are you taking this bigger and better from last year's event?
Yeah, of course. We don't want to just repeat what we did last year. I think having laid that groundwork that I was mentioning earlier means that we could have, paid more attention to areas that perhaps we couldn't do so last year. So spend more time on the program, making sure that, we're really hitting the topics that we want to hit. Not that we didn't hit the topics that we didn't want to hit last year, of course, but, everything was a bit more rushed and a bit less known. So it's just, going over everything and making sure it's more polished, but then also trying to add new things. So like, if you've been paying attention to our Twitter and our newsletters, you would have heard about the fact that we've got a couple of people doing some live performances. So that's certainly something that we didn't have last year, really. The standard sort of panels, presentations, fireside chats, they're all there again this year, bigger and better. But of course, we've added a couple of live performances. So we've got Tip, who's over from New Zealand.
Sweet.
She's coming along, and she's been kind of touring around the Bitcoin conferences. So she was just in Madeira at Bitcoin Atlantis performing her most recent live performance, which is called Dawn. So that's the one that she's going to be showcasing at Bitcoin Live on Saturday, the 23rd of March. So really, really excited about that. Like, I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen videos of it. And I've spoken to people who have seen it in person, and, she gets standing ovations and people have got goosebumps. I've got goosebumps just even thinking about it now. It's really, really moving stuff with what she does. And that's, of course, it's not something that you can really get anywhere else. Of course, you can watch a YouTube video and you can get the gist of it, but being there in person, in flesh, watching that delivered live, it's like listening to your favorite band or going to see your favorite band live. They're both good, but they're very different experiences. And so, that's one of the live performances that we've thrown into the mix for 2024. We've also got a Bitcoin comedian. So David Boyle, who's a professional comedian. He's been touring around the world in Europe and UK and North America for the last couple of years doing his comedy. He's come along. He's coming along on Saturday as well to give a little Bitcoin comedy set, which should be really interesting. Again, not something I've ever seen before, and not something you often see. And the same thing goes with comedy, right? Like, you can watch a Netflix special and it's like, yeah, that's funny, a little bit of LOL there. But then you go to an actual live comedy show and you laugh your ass off. Like, it's nonstop when you're in there in person. It's very, very different experience watching comedy at home versus in person. So hopefully, he hits it out of the park with all of the jokes, that the Bitcoiners would come to love. And then lastly, we've got Robbie P, who's I don't know how to most accurately describe him, but he's like a Bitcoin rapper, musician, content creator. He's been making videos on Bitcoin related content on his YouTube channel for a while now, like hip hop beats with messaging over the top. So he's doing a live performance at Bitcoin Alive as well. So people are going to definitely be able to experience different things that you can't do reading a blog or watching a YouTube video or jumping on a Zoom call or being in a Telegram channel. That's why Bitcoin conferences exist, because getting together and seeing people face to face is, I look forward to shaking your hand and having a beer whilst we've had many conversations on the pod and on phone calls, and they've been great, but we haven't never met in person, and I'm looking forward to giving you a big hug and having a beer. And that's what it's all about, is just getting together, right?
100% it is. And I know recently you've announced that you're extending the conference as well. So instead of just on the Saturday, you've now extended it for a half day on the Friday. And on Daniel's podcast that we're referencing before the show, you're talking about a Sunday session on the Sunday as well. Do you just want to talk about how the event's going to be laid out, both informal and formal? Really quickly, ladies and gentlemen, I've teamed up with the Bitcoin Way. This is the professional Bitcoin IT team. They can help you master your Bitcoin self-custody. Safetina Moose, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, also recommends this professional Bitcoin IT cybersecurity team. Their guys are absolutely amazing. They can help you set up a node, protect your stack, get your Bitcoin off the exchange. Make sure that you are following best practices. Number one, that it's air gapped. If you don't know what that means, I've put their details below for you. If you're worried about SIM swaps, reach out to the Bitcoin Way. Maybe you just want to know that you are doing the best thing. You're doing all the little tricks within your device to be able to make sure nobody can ever get into your Bitcoin, have any access. If you've got any queries about connecting to public USB and charging points, connecting to rogue Wi-Fi access points or malware-infected USB cables and flash drives, reach out to the Bitcoin cybersecurity team, the Bitcoin Way. Free 30-minute call. They are at the top of the description.
Sure, yeah, happy to. So we've been trying to coin this term Bitcoin Week because coincidentally, and I guess intentionally as well, the Bitcoin Bush Bash is the weekend before Bitcoin Alive. So basically, we've kind of tied everything together and we're calling it Bitcoin Week. And, if you're a Bitcoiner in Australia, you can come to all of that or you can come to some of that. But the point is that this is high season for Bitcoin in Australia. So starting on I think it's the 15th of March, the Saturday before Bitcoin Alive, you've got the Bush Bash down at Beechworth, which actually I was at last year and it was really, really fantastic. Yeah. Cool little regional town where all the Bitcoiners flock to for the weekend. So that'll be happening. I think actually some of the boys are going to be heading down there on Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Beechworth. Then we all head back for a couple of days back to our normal lives before we start gearing up again for the rest of Bitcoin Week. So I think it's Thursday night. That's the 21st of March. We've got a special Bitcoin Sydney meetup. So the monthly Bitcoin Sydney meetup, which has been going longer than any Bitcoin meetup in Australia. We've kind of taken over that like we did last year, and we're doing a special edition Bitcoin Alive, special edition Bitcoin Sydney meetup. So that'll be happening on the 21st at Hotel Harry's, which is the usual location for the Bitcoin Sydney meetups. Friday, unfortunately, and that will start, I think, at about 6 usually. The doors open for that. So that's, really casual. People can come along. It's a free event. There's going to be beers. There's going to be pizza. There's going to be food. There's going to be Bitcoin Alive speakers. There's going to be anyone that's in town already effectively is going to probably be coming along to that. So it's a little bit bigger than the normal Bitcoin City monthly meetup, but a lot of fun, a nice way to, kind of say, hey, welcome to Sydney. Good to see you again. Looking forward to the next couple of days. It's going to be, really, really good. Unfortunately, I know you mentioned the Bitcoin Alive expansion to 1.5 days, and that certainly was the plan, and we were teasing that over the last couple of weeks, but unfortunately, we've had to cancel that event due to unforeseen circumstances. We're really bummed about that. Yeah, we're super, super, it was kind of like an idea of mine, and I really wanted to like deliver that. But unfortunately, yeah, things have just changed. Like I said, a lot of problems pop up, and you try your best to solve them, but sometimes some of them aren't solvable. So we've had to pull the pin on the Friday night social night event, which is really, really sad. But all of the content that was happening on that Friday night, which I mentioned earlier with Robbie and David, and another thing which maybe I'll mention later if I'm being generous. All of those three things are going to be now shifted to the Saturday, so you're not going to miss out on any of those things. It's just happening at a different time, and unfortunately, it's not going to be happening on the Friday night. Evidently, a lot of Bitcoiners will be in Sydney on Friday night anyway.
100%.
And what happened last year was, I think someone booked like a meal for the Bitcoiners, and they went to like a Brazilian barbecue thing, and they all got together and they had a good night anyway. So I'm sure there'll be some informal satellite events happening around on Friday night too. And then obviously Saturday is the main course, Bitcoin Alive, full day conference. Doors open at 9:30. Sessions go all the way up until about 5:45, and then we roll into a networking after party style event, which will run until 8:30, and then people will slowly start getting kicked out at around 9. Again, I'm sure the Bitcoiners, like we did last year, will kick on to a local pub or a local establishment for some more drinks, some more stories, and more fun. And then Sunday, we're winding down like we did again last year with the Sunday session at the Coogee Beach Hotel. So right on the water there. Hopefully the weather's really good. The weather's really good at this time of year. So we're praying for the gods to look after us, but everyone can come along. Again, that's a free event. So just come along to the pub, have a few drinks, grab a meal, say your farewells, say your goodbyes, solidify those new relationships and all of that. So really looking forward to the entire Bitcoin week. It should be a lot of fun. I think I'll be at everything. I don't know if anyone else is as crazy as I am to be at everything, but I'll be at everything.
Bitcoiners are pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Oh, man, so excited. Sorry to hear about the issues that's coming up. But like you said, with any small business that you're running and getting off the ground, there's always going to be something. For everyone watching, I will be in Sydney, obviously, for the event, staying in Coogee as well. So that's nice for the after party on Sunday. But if you'd like to catch up on the Friday, reach out to me on X. You know where my links are down below as well. What I want to do is I'm going to bring it up here is you've got some pretty cool speakers, a lot of international guests as well. Eric Kaysen, Gabriel Shipton, Luke Broyles, Danny Knowles, Daniel Baden, Seb Walker, Tip, who we were just talking about before, Lincoln Tan. MC, I see that you brought Jake Woodhouse back as well. I'm super excited to see Jake there, and John, Dale Warburton as well. And then some really incredible Australian speakers there. I'll read them out real quick for anyone that's maybe not listening with the video on. We've got James Check, Peter Dunworth, Keaton, Michael Dunworth, Adam. The two Dunworths together, is that not too much, man? Like, these two are so insane. They're probably some of the most bullish people for different reasons on Bitcoin. I don't know if the room or the venue is big enough, even with 3 stages. Carrie, Adam, yourself there, Andy, Piers, Kai, Daniel, a lot of Daniels, David, Konza, Nick. The list just keeps going on and on and on. They're saying Robbie
about
P.
34 speakers in total, I think.
Yeah, man, and you had to expand, hey? So from 2 stages to 3 stages, or?
Yeah, so that's actually one of the other kind of increase or improvements that we've made from this year is we wildly underestimated the popularity of the side stage last year. So much so that literally the first session was so full that all of the chairs were full. We had people standing out the back. Like there was literally no room for people to enter into the
standing room only.
So we had to break down the wall, bring in new chairs. 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, there was now a double the size room. So we took that on board and realized, okay, maybe we need to actually make the second stage, the Nakamoto stage, a bit more of a thing this year. Give it a bit more love, make sure the room's broken down, make sure we have enough chairs for everyone because we know how popular it was last year, which is then spurred on a third room. So the third room is what we're calling the Proof of Workshop, which is a workshop style stage. So
Sweet.
A lot more informal, different arrangements. So instead of the theater seating, it'll be like round tables or something like that, so people can bring notepads and tinker with things and ask questions, and there'll be whiteboards. So it'll be a lot more intimate, hands-on, and again, the content delivered in that stage will be more workshop styled, so physical props or whatever that might be, opposed to like a panel or a fireside chat or whatever. That's going to be on those other two stages. So yeah, we're really excited about the fact that there's a third stage, and it means that we can do some educational, hands-on style content, which is always really well received. So yeah, that's something that we certainly realized from last year, that hey, we need to improve in that area, because yeah, we thought everyone would probably just chill at the main stage all day, given it's the main stage. But there's so much good Bitcoin content that the content on the side stage it warrants being on the main stage. It's just simply we only have 7 hours and we can't fit everyone on the same stage. So hence multiple stages. But yeah, that's kind of the lay of the land when it comes to the stages.
I guess one of the hardest things is for people that are attending, and for myself included, is choosing who to go and see as well, because we're not going to be able to see everyone, which is what it is. But, we'd ultimately like to see every speaker. I haven't seen yet the schedule. Is that published, or you're just moments away?
Perhaps by the time that this podcast goes live, it will have been published. We are imminently waiting to release that publicly, and I know people are chomping at the bit to find out exactly. Again, these are one of the other improvements that we made from last year. And yeah, you can't be in two places at once. And the reality of it is, unfortunately, there will be clashes. We've obviously tried our best to ensure that the content being delivered on the different stages at the same time aren't obviously clashing. So there isn't two mining panels or two mining sessions on at the same time, because that would just split the mining crowd. So there's a mining panel and maybe something about macro, so they're not directly clashing. But the other thing that we did with the program as well that we didn't do last year was actually sync up the stages. So last year it was kind of a bit of a mess. So, the one stage was starting at say 10, and that would go to 10:30, but then the second stage would start at 10:20 and run to 11:05. There was just no kind of order to it. So we really made a conservative effort this year to ensure that the breaks align across the stages, which they do basically all day, except I think on 2 occasions where they fall out of sync, but then they resync immediately after that. So, if you're trying to watch a session, it ends, you've got 5 minutes to get back downstairs or get to another stage to be able to catch the next session. You're not going to be, leaving 5 minutes early so you can get to the other one and you're missing a few things. So yeah, we made a really big effort to ensure that user experience, I guess you could say, is a little better for attendees. So they're not missing too much, or they're getting, 80% of this and then 70% of that. They're able to get the whole shebang of what they want to see. And then of course, the things that do directly clash with their personal interests, all of the stages except the proof of workshop stage will be recorded. So the Satoshi stage and the Nakamoto stage will be recorded. So, if there is an obvious clash and you have to make a choice on the day, don't stress. The content will be videoed. It will be available for free on our YouTube channel after the event wraps up. So you'll always be able to catch up on, for me, I'm going to be running around like a headless chook, going everywhere on backstage, doing this, finding that person, dealing with that problem. So I'll probably not see really any of the content, which is the sacrifice we make as organizers, is, we don't get to actually enjoy it as an attendee. But for me, I'll be watching all of the videos after the fact, because, I of course I've put together the content and the schedule. So I kind of want to look at what the people have to say about it as well. So
100%. Even with those videos, recently I was watching Bitcoin Alive videos from last year, and before we talked last time, I was watching those videos. Absolutely awesome. And I've seen, I noticed that you'd released one that was only a month old on that channel. So you're continually adding information and content, I guess. You're putting it out there. So I'll link that below for everyone as well. Sorry to drill down into the schedule, but I just want to know a couple of things, because I'm going to interview Peter Dunworth, Michael Dunworth, Daz B, a couple of other people lining up. So it's pretty important to me as well, because I want to be there, obviously have a chat with them, get a bit of content. But I'm going to a Bitcoin conference to go to a Bitcoin conference as well, so I don't want to miss out. Will that be posted on the website, or are you going to send it out via email in your newsletter? How are people going to access the schedule?
Yeah. That'll be posted everywhere. You'll see it on our social channels across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You'll see it on our newsletter. It'll be hosted on our website. It'll be blasted everywhere. It's not something that we're ashamed of. It's something we're very proud of. We've just need to give that final touches to make sure, there's always last minute changes. People say, I can't come, or, can I move here, or my family's doing this in the morning. Can you, so we're just tying up those last changes, making sure everyone's locked in. There's no rug pulls or anything like that. And then once that's done, we'll push it out live. Like I said, it's likely to be out by the time this goes live, if not very, very shortly afterwards, early next week.
Sweet. And the Bitcoin Alive website's at the top of the description, ladies and gentlemen, as well. So you can find that, jump on there and do it. You've got a couple of tickets. You've got the VIP ticket, general admission ticket as well. I saw VIP, had to go for it. It said a little bit about being backstage or in the speakers lounge and things like that. Can you explain what the difference is and maybe who each ticket is for? Like, who would gravitate towards the VIP, who's general admission, and what are those extra benefits over and above the general admission regarding the VIP ticket?
Yeah, sure. Happy to go over all that stuff. So the general admission ticket basically will give you access to Bitcoin Alive, of course. That's including the full day conference and the networking after party. You'll be able to access all the stages. The exhibitor hall will be there for everyone to look at and to enjoy. There'll be food trucks, there'll be bars. Everyone will have access to all of that stuff. Then where it moves into the VIP area, essentially the VIPs get additional benefits, like they'll of course get express entry, so they'll have their own dedicated registration line that if there's hundreds of people trying to line up, you get to skirt that and you get to get into the venue quicker, which is nice. They'll get access to their special VIP and speakers lounge. So for anyone that was there last year, they would remember that was upstairs, and that's in the same location this year. They get a nice viewing platform upstairs as well, so a secluded viewing platform where they can look down on the main stage, which is, I've been going to this venue since I was a young man. Different concerts and rock shows, and standing up the top there is really cool. You get a great down view of the main stage. But of course, there'll be tea, food, coffee, and stuff served up in that VIP speakers lounge. So they'll be catered throughout the day for food and beverage, including coffee as well, tea and coffee too. Again, they'll have all of the same stuff that the GA people get. They'll have some extra benefits with catering and whatnot for the after party as well. So they'll have a drinks package. So drinks are on us for the VIP speakers for that 3-hour window. What else? There is actually a special VIP event that's happening as well, which I didn't mention earlier. It is part of Bitcoin Week, but of course it is only available to those who are VIP ticket holders. So if you've got yourself a VIP ticket, then you will be invited to a special event, and those invitations will be going out probably within the next 24 hours. So have a look in your inbox if you've got a VIP ticket.
Cool.
You'll be getting an invite or a request for an RSVP to a special event with VIP and speakers. So again, basically the idea, I think, for VIPs is it gives them the access to the speakers and to the movers and shakers. So you get to hang out with the speakers in an exclusive area. Of course, speakers will be roaming around the entire venue, and you'll be able to run into anyone. It's not like that, but throughout the day, you can sit down in that VIP lounge. You can have conversations a bit more intimately than what you would in other areas of the venue. So really, it's designed for people who want to get those additional benefits and get food and catering throughout the day, but also have access to these speakers and these sponsors and exhibitors and all that sort of stuff.
No, man, I can't wait. And definitely the close access, like you're saying, like any Bitcoin conference, they're going to be walking around, talking to the crowd, everybody. That's exactly why they're there. But maybe when it's a little bit quieter, a little bit less people, maybe the interactions, you'll still have the same opportunity for an interaction. Maybe they'll last a little bit longer. So I'm looking super forward to that. Let's just talk about the venue for a while. You've been going there for a kid. It's at the University of New South Wales Roundhouse. It's meant to be a world stage location. What is it that drew you there? Was it the cost or the actual venue itself? It had the capacity to be able to do what you want? Or Sydney's a massive place. It's arguably one of the biggest cities in Australia. Why the Roundhouse over any other conference centre within Sydney or anywhere else in Australia for that matter?
Yeah, it's a great question. Basically, there's a few reasons. The first and foremost reason was when we were putting this together, there's a lot going on and there's a lot of costs involved, and we're not kind of we're not backed by a big company. We don't have, deep pockets like Bitcoin Magazine or
Just quickly,
Swan.
you can't call the CEO of Bitcoin and get him to pay for this Bitcoin event. Hey,
I tried, but
you might find him in a court somewhere, Ninja Man.
yeah, I think the number was disconnected, so I couldn't reach him, unfortunately. But I'll try again for next year, see if he'll dig out some of that million coin that he has to
Yep.
slice us a little bit. But kind of the idea about the Roundhouse was, one, it's a really good conference and world class venue. So
Yep.
International brands, international conferences. It's world class. It's got all of the in-house AV and audio tech, so we don't have to muck around with bringing stuff in, or it's got everything kind of built out of the package for us. So that's really nice. The other added benefit is one of the team here at Bitcoin Alive, Jess. She actually used to be the events manager at this venue, so she knows the venue inside out, like the back of her hand. She worked there as the events manager for 4 years prior to becoming a freelance events manager and working on Bitcoin Alive with us. So of course we've got existing relationships, and she knows the venue layout. She basically was on the other side of the fence for 4 years selling the event space to people like us who want to hire it. So the friction involved with it's super handy. Like the friction involved with site visits or questions, like it's a lot less than what it would be, like, say, if we were in a different state working with a different venue that we've never worked with before. We'd have to go visit there a lot because we don't know the space. We need to measure things. Like all of that stuff is just kind of a non-issue because we've got Jess and her experience. So that was probably the biggest reason why we went down that route initially, because again, we don't have deep pockets. So we need to be sensible about how we do this. And if we go into a venue that perhaps is too big, or we don't know well, or the costs blow up, we lose our shirt and the event doesn't happen this year and doesn't happen in subsequent years. So the Roundhouse was just, lowest hanging fruit. But it's also got a lot of room to grow. So we were probably only at maybe 25 or 30% capacity in terms of what it can physically hold last year. So, we can live there for the indefinite future until we start getting, over 1,500 people, which we would love to see happen. But the reality of Bitcoin in Australia is it's simply not that big yet. But, it exists now. So hopefully over time, the brand grows and people come to love what the event is, and they come along and have fun. And that's how we see ourselves filling that space over the next couple of years. But yeah, like the Roundhouse is, a lot of the feedback last year was people loved it. Like a lot of people have never been to the venue before. Plenty have. Some of the speakers even went to university at that uni and used to go to that venue to party and all sorts. So it's quite ironic that they're back at the Roundhouse telling people about Bitcoin when they were studying economics there 10 years earlier, which is, I find that really funny. But so it's got a soft spot for a lot of people, myself included, but it's just a great venue. Like the shape of it, the name's pretty obvious. It's called the Roundhouse. It's in the shape of a circle. It's round. So it kind of, it leads, for me, it feels like everything's kind of kept in, like because of the round nature of the venue. Nothing gets tucked away in a corner because there really isn't corners. It's a round venue. So everything's really, it's like a nice heartbeat. It's a nice central kind of node, if you will, where everyone can kind of get together and they don't have to get tucked away in a weird corner. Yeah, there's some photos of it in a conference or in a music event setting. Obviously, they can fill the floor with thousands of people. We'll have chairs, so of course that takes up a little bit more room. But yeah, it's a really, really cool venue. Professional audio, professional lighting. It's great. So for us, it's really easy, but it also delivers what we want to try to deliver, which is a world-class conference.
Yep. Talking about the not so many Bitcoiners in Australia, I think there's two main things here. Number one is we're so isolated from the rest of the world, say like Bitcoin Madeira that just happened. It's so easy from anywhere else in the world, apart from Australia, to be able to fly there and converge in that one location. Because we're very, very large island, the world's largest island, floating out in the middle of the sea. It is pretty hard for people to jump over the pond and just be here. But in regards to Australian Bitcoiners, shout out to the G'day crew, everyone watching this channel. the amount of Australians that have been joining more and more, like, it's amazing. I wonder for yourself, Chris, are you noticing that? So for myself over the last 4 years, everyone thought I was crazy talking about Bitcoin. When it dropped from 20,000 down to 3,300 and then rocketed up to 69,000, buying it that whole way, when it went from 69,000 down to 15,000, they thought I was absolutely mad for buying it the whole way. But now, a couple of years after C19, that people are really experiencing inflation is the biggest thing. The interest rates they went up, they've stayed up. Nobody's got any money left. Everyone's feeling it. Electricity, water, groceries, rent if they're doing it, rates have gone up. Just the repayments on their house, on their mortgage. Actually, now that we've hit all-time highs here in Australia, we've hit 3-time. Sorry, I know you're not talking about the price. My apologies. Not today, but where we are in the price, to me, it seems remarkable that people are now interested in it after it's so far away from potentially the bottom of the cycle. Are you experiencing that yourself as well in your own orange pilling journey, that people are actually more receptive to it now than they have been any time over the last 4 years, 10 years, 15 years, or is it different for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is probably like my 5th cycle, I think. So like I've seen this play over time and time again. Of course, there's slight differences here and there, but generally speaking, number go up means people get interested. So, this isn't a shocking revelation that because we're hitting all-time highs, and I'm aware that we hit an all-time high because I couldn't avoid it.
Sorry.
I went onto my Twitter and literally every single thing was like all-time high, all-time high, all-time high. So, there's no surprise that people are now getting interested in it. You've now seen institutional money come into the field with ETFs and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's very much beyond the previous narrative of, it's used for drug dealing and it's used for money laundering and, terrorism financing. The reality of it is, the US dollar does a better job at all of those things. I'm certainly seeing more people get interested in it. Like the conversations in the groups that I'm in, there's more of it happening. There's more new entrants coming into the conversation. Of course, they're all asking the same questions. How do I buy Bitcoin? Where do I store Bitcoin? Where's it going to next? Should I buy now? Should I wait until it goes back to $10,000?
Yeah.
And, being a seasoned Bitcoiner, you try to steer them in the right direction. But at the end of the day, like people need to come to the party in their own accord. Yeah. So, I can help you and I can shape you there, but you need to be behind the wheel driving the car. And for some people, they haven't done the hours of learning how to drive a car properly. So a lot of people are crashing into walls and doing all sorts of things. But again, that's what the seasoned Bitcoiners are here to try to help do is, point them in the right lane, get them moving in the right direction. But again, at the end of the day, you need to have personal responsibility. That's what Bitcoin's built on. It's built on holding your own keys. It's built on doing your own research, not trusting, verifying. And so, if you think you can come to Bitcoin when it's an all-time high and just kind of eat the cake and run away, that's not how it works. You need to put in the work. You need to understand it. Otherwise, you're going to get burnt. And we see it every time, right? People come in, they buy at the all-time highs. They think it's going to 10 million. The market then crashes and they go, Bitcoin's a bloody scam. This is nonsense. I'm never touching it again. And then the price comes up again 4 years later and they go, maybe it's not a scam. I'm going to buy some. And then they end up making the same mistakes over and over again because they're not putting in the research to understand why are these things happening. Like you said, I'm not interested in the price. It's not a metric that I'm overly think is useful. That's a very kind of a lot of people don't agree with me, which is cool. I'm not really here to pick fights or anything. It's where I'm at in my journey now, being my was it 2024 13th year looking into Bitcoin roughly. I've realized price is just a noisy thing that gets in the way to what the bigger vision, and the bigger vision for me is the separation of money from state. And so, I think Bitcoin certainly gives us the best chance to be able to do that. But yeah, I've digressed a little bit. Your original point was about, have I seen growth and I've seen more interest? Certainly to some degree. I still think there's a lot more to come. It seems to be happening a little sooner than previously. Usually we start to see this kind of crazy all-time high action post-halving, whereas it's happening pre-halving, which I actually think might be a first. I'd have to fact check this, but I don't recall any of the most previous all-time highs ever coming before a halving. So what that means, I don't know. Like, it could mean the institutional money is really driving things up. It could mean more retail players are here, and now they're getting interested in Bitcoin. I don't really know. I'm not really sure, but the good thing is more people are getting interested in Bitcoin and asking questions about it, and so there is a plethora of Bitcoiners ready to answer those questions.
Yeah. Yeah, the education's really ramped up. One of the things you said, and it's the main thing about Bitcoin, is it does separate money from state. But then we talked about the institutions are here, and this time is different, the most dangerous words within Bitcoin or any financial markets. What do you see with institutions coming in? Do you even care, or they're just another buyer like everyone else? Or could this potentially be an attack on Bitcoin? Or is it just for the people that aren't willing to take personal responsibility for themselves to be financially sovereign? They can be exposed to number go up, but they're actually not going to benefit from the revolution that is self-sovereign Bitcoin and self-custody.
I think you hit the nail on the head with each of those points. For me, I'm not that interested. It's not a product for me. I've never bought an ETF, and I don't suspect I ever would. If I would, it would be a Bitcoin one, because that's the only asset that I think is useful. But at the end of the day, why wouldn't I just buy the real thing? And so that's what I do. But again, you're right. For some people, they're not legally allowed in the structure that they have, or they don't understand, or they don't want the personal responsibility of holding Bitcoin. And so using a regulated ETF for them is safe. Maybe they come from that traditional financial background where ETFs is, low risk, so to speak, or safety. Whereas, holding Bitcoin on a hardware wallet or an exchange or whatever comes with different things that people just don't simply understand. But yeah, for me, it's not that interesting. Of course, I like that more people are getting interested in Bitcoin, and so maybe there's a blessing in disguise with the ETFs making Bitcoin more mainstream, that more people are now starting to understand and learn about Bitcoin. I would again urge people to do the work and to know the difference between an ETF Bitcoin and a real Bitcoin held on like a hardware wallet or in self custody. Vastly different things. Whilst, like you said, you get the upside in both scenarios. You don't get the upside of decentralized money, of separation from money from state, from personal responsibility. You don't get any of those things where you need to actually hold real Bitcoin to be able to be exposed to them. So yeah, ETFs probably not for me.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp, Chris, and the only place that I could see where an ETF might be beneficial, and only because of where we are within Bitcoin's blockchain, the service around it building out, is if you want to lend against your Bitcoin. But even the ETFs and stuff don't have those processes in place there. So at this stage, for me, there's no incentive to be able to do it. Maybe down the track if you wanted to loan against it for whatever reason. But by that time, I dare say you're going to be able to do that on-chain anyway in a time-delayed, multi-sig, smart contract type device. Like, Bitcoiners are freaking geniuses. So it's not if, it's when. And that's just, they just keep incentivizing themselves. And another point you made for people is they need to put in the proof of work. Like, read the books, read the bugs. I say it all the time here. If people are not going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, there's that meme, like, have fun staying poor. And I know that's a little bit harsh, but Bitcoin's so vital right now. Like, we're talking about inflation, the cost of living, but we're in this death spiral. It's never going to stop. Like, maybe they kick the can down the road for another 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. Like, I don't see 50 years happening, but they'll do their very best. But slowly, then suddenly, and then I see us being on a Bitcoin standard worldwide as a pristine form of collateral. What position do you see Bitcoin playing in the world? Will it be the base layer of money, or it'll be used as just a pristine form of collateral, or it'll just be something that, because the governments can't control it and they can't print more of it, eventually they let you hold it or hold it in the ETF, but they never want to class it as currency? So what are your speculations around that?
Oh, the reality of it is, we can all sit here and speculate all day long, and we're probably all going to be wrong. I think for the sake of humanity, what I hope will happen, and what I'm certainly pushing for, and I'm certainly not the smartest person in the room, so there'll be other economists and much smarter people making these decisions, hopefully not me. But what I kind of hope to happen is it to become something like the reserve currency of the world. Going back to a gold standard type scenario, but instead of gold, Bitcoin. That would certainly be a step in the right direction. Like you rightfully said, every fiat currency in human history is on a death spiral to zero. There have been thousands of them for the last tens of thousands of years while humans have been around, and every single one of them has gone to zero. So as I always say, it's a little naive to suggest that, hey, the US dollar or the Japanese yen or the euro or the Australian dollar is the outlier to what history has shown us. The reality is I think it's going to be part of the same bundle. It's just going to be another number to the thousands of fiat currencies that have gone to zero. What I hope in that we wake up to ourselves and we say, hey, we need sound money. We need hard money.
Yeah.
What are the options out there on the marketplaces available to humans? And so, of course, there's gold. We could go back to the gold standard. I mean, even that would be a better choice than what we currently have. I don't think it's the best choice. I think Bitcoin would be the best choice. And I hope to see that kind of future eventuate. More and more countries are likely to make it legal tender. And I think at some point critical mass kicks in. Of course, El Salvador is not enough. They are a small country in Central America. And, in the global scheme of things, they don't really matter, although I love El Salvador and have been there many times. And I think they will matter very, very importantly in the future. And they'll be very, very happy about the decisions that they've made over the last couple of years. But it's still very early, and we haven't seen any bigger countries or any other countries really take that plunge. But for me, like you said earlier, it's just a matter of when, not if. And so when push comes to shove and your currency's hyperinflating and it's absolutely worthless, the society is going to revolt, and at some point something's got to give. They may come up with some other new bullshit scheme, CBDCs or something like that. But hopefully there's enough pushback from the people that get it to not allow that to happen. But at the end of the day, like I can speculate all day long as to where it might go, and I'm probably going to be wrong with every single one of those options. So what I hope is that we move towards a sound money economy, and ideally that's Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100% agree. And while we'd like them to accept it, our governments, something that all of us can do is just opt out and buy Bitcoin, buy Stack and Chill. So you can do it for yourself, you can do it for your friends and family, and that's ultimately that's the whole point, right? They can't stop you. What are you most bullish about Bitcoin? Either about Bitcoin as a technology, the past history of it, or something that you can see going forward or that you'd like to see within Bitcoin being implemented?
Pretty much what we were talking about. Like my goals are separation of money from state. They're very lofty goals, and they're low time preference goals. So they're not going to be solved next week, next month, next year. There's going to be lots that happens in between there, and all of those things are exciting in their own right. Developments on different layers, improvements to scaling, all that sort of stuff, is happening in real time, and that'll eventuate. But for me, it's the long-term picture of moving Bitcoin and allowing 8 billion people to leverage a sounder form of money so they can live more fruitful lives. Fiat currency is it's depleting. It's literally killing us slowly, and it's not healthy for anyone. So the quicker we realize that, the quicker we can start to move towards a solution. Of course, this is going to be a messy ride. It's going to be a lot of pain. I mean, there's pain everywhere. As you look around, people are struggling to, put food on their tables. They're working 2 jobs. They're doing overtime. They're paying more tax, and they're still seeing no improvements to the quality of their life at the end of the day. So it's a really sad affair. And whilst, we're a little bit insulated here in Australia, we're feeling the pinch. You ask most people around, they're going, I can't believe petrol prices. I'm not going overseas anymore. Energy costs. I'm turning the heater off in winter a little earlier in the night now because I can't afford to keep it running that long. Like these are all things that, seem novel or trivial on the surface, but if you really understand why they're occurring, it's a deeper conversation, and that's because the money's broken. So I'm excited for people to understand this and people to learn this. As we continue to disseminate this information, more and more people will eventually start to consume it. People like yourself and people like all of the different authors and podcasters and conferences and everything that's going on collectively is going to push the hive mind of society towards, hopefully a better place. So that's what I'm really excited about. I know that's not something like specific, like, I can't wait for layer 3
cool,
technology,
man.
whatever that is. But all of that stuff is awesome and, is very much needed, and it's all part of the puzzle. But I'm excited about the end goal. The end goal might not even happen in my lifetime, which is a little bit sad to kind of to think about. Like, maybe I won't ever see, I'll never see the last Bitcoin block mined in 2140, for instance. Whilst, I talk about it and I think about it on a daily basis, how cool that would be. I'll never be around to experience it. But that doesn't mean I don't want it to occur. I want to set up the next generation to understand what those ramifications mean and how to benefit from them, and et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm a bit more bigger picture, because you get caught in the midst of all of the in real time conversations. You kind of lose focus on what the bigger idea is here. So, I leave that to the developers who are building Lightning apps and all sorts of stuff. Like, I'll be end users of those products more than likely. But my focus is very much on the larger scale problem.
Absolutely love it. I've done the audience and anyone in Australia a huge favor. There's a discount link below. G'day Bitcoin. Not sure how that's set up percentage wise. Definitely a discount there. Put the website, your links, Bitcoin Alive, YouTube as well. Any final message for the audience?
No, look, thanks for having me on the podcast. That discount code will entitle people to 10% off, either a GA or a VIP ticket, both if they pay in fiat or they pay in Bitcoin. So please take advantage of that. We want people to save their sats. We, of course, have to charge a cover cost, because there are obviously costs involved with putting on a world-class conference. But we want to give as much value to people as possible. Understand people are feeling the pinch. So if someone's feeling the pinch more than others, let us know, reach out to us. We'll try to do the best we can to get you to come along, because at the end of the day, it's your personal education. And, you can't really put a price on that, especially understanding money and where money might be going in the future. These are things that will arm you to make better decisions for you and your family over the course of the next decades. So it seems like a no-brainer to come along and listen to the brightest minds in Bitcoin talking about all of the different facets of Bitcoin. But super excited. Only 17 days left now before Bitcoin Alive. So
let's go, baby.
Things are getting absolutely crazy, but looking forward to meeting all the hundreds of Bitcoiners that come along. It's just a fantastic time. It's the only time we all get together in a year. Like you said earlier, we are a big country in the middle of nowhere. Even people in Perth don't see people in Sydney. I mean, I haven't even met you yet, and we've been talking to each other for probably 2 or 3 years. So this is just an excuse to get together, get in the same room, shake hands, have beers, share laughs, share stories, make connections, network, build businesses, all of those things in between. So we're really looking forward to it. Everyone's welcome. Please come along. If you've got any issues, reach out to us on Twitter or email, whatever. We're always happy to answer. At the end of the day, this event is for the community. It's not for ourselves. We're just one cog in the community, the one that happens to be the organizers, but we serve the community. So if there's something that you want to see in subsequent Bitcoin Alives, or something you're not sure about, please reach out to us. We'll make sure we'll give you the clarity needed so you can make the best decisions for yourself.
You're an absolute legend. Chris, it's been a pleasure. Everyone, hope to see you at Bitcoin Alive. We'll see you on the next video. Be blessed. Peace.